Welcome back, everybody, to a special live episode of the DCL Duo podcast brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel and our amazing friends over at the DCL Magazine. I'm going to stop calling them WDW Magazine. You can also visit them there, but our fabulous friends over at the DCL Magazine. Normally, I do you like an ad pitch right now. I am going to say head over there, subscribe, and also, you can use code DCL Duo for 10% off anything in their store. But I just want to say what a lovely group of people the WDW Magazine are. So just a big shout out to Stephanie, Danny, Tim,
and Tatiana.
We got to meet them on board the Destiny preview that we're going to talk about tonight. And they're just lovely people and such supportive people. And so even if you don't like the idea of a magazine, show them some love, because I can't imagine why you wouldn't like a magazine, because it's pretty fantastic. And we're going to have some articles coming up in that magazine. But they're just fabulous people. So big shout out to all of them over at WDW Magazine. We love you guys. And it was just an amazing trip with you all. So,
and we got to give a shout out to the folks at My Path Unwinding Travel. Of course, this invite for us was our first official invite for the DCL Duo to come aboard a Disney Cruise Line preview cruise. But Karen Shelton with My Path Unwinding Travel gave us the opportunity twice to do preview cruises through Disney Cruise Line through her sales invite. And the first time was when Brian went to the Lookout Key preview. And so he was among the first people to actually see Lookout Key. Brian, I can hear you typing, just FYI. But the other thing that I would say is that she then took me on the Treasure preview cruise as well. And so we just got to give her a big thanks. She was invited on the same preview that we were invited on, but could not make it. So she's actually going to be on the preview that leaves on the 16th of November. And so she's also be on a maiden with us. So you'll hear more from her, hopefully coming soon as well on the Disney Destiny. But just needed to give a big shout out to the folks at My Path Unwinding. We really appreciate your support throughout these last 3 years of our partnership. And with that, I people are commenting on our shirts already, Brian.
I saw. They're also commenting that I might be on the wrong microphone, but showing that
you are echoey. So you're sounding echoey to me. I don't know if it's because your mic is far away from your face or if you're on the wrong microphone, but either way, it's fine. I think it's going to be fine. It's just different. You just sound different than you normally do. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm just going to see if I can't fix this one real fast, because it shouldn't be on this microphone. Well, let's muddle through for a second. Actually, bear with us for 1 second. The beauty of live television here. I'm just going to make sure that I have the right input selected. It's showing that I do. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there with the echoiness of it all, but we're going to keep going. All right. So I wanted to start by framing this up a little bit. This was a very special cruise. This was a media preview cruise. And so we were on board about 2,000 people on the ship, I think was the head count that we heard. And it was made up of various groups of content creators, print media, fan media, which was what we were in. Travel agents were also on board. And because it's a media preview cruise, that means that we got a very special experience, a curated experience. And so I've been talking to folks about how this is going to be like our unboxing video. If you're a technology YouTube watcher, we're going to tell you what we got to see and what we got to experience, but by no means did we get to experience everything. These were also curated experiences. So we had special access to media people. We had special setups to be able to film and get shots of drinks and props and other things throughout the ship. We didn't hit every restaurant. In fact, the only main dining restaurant we experienced was the Pride Lands. And so good for us because that's the new restaurant. So what we're really going to touch on tonight are the new things, but I want you to keep in mind this was a curated experience. We were hosted by Disney Cruise Line, and so it gives us special access and a special understanding of the ship, but it also means it's not necessarily the regular guest experience you're going to find on board here in the next week or so when we're back for the Maiden. So we're going to do
schedule is different. So if people
brutal, the schedule's brutal.
The schedule's brutal, but the schedule's different in terms of like how many times do they do the Cruella experience that we're going to talk about. I can't answer that because we didn't have a regular schedule. We had a 3-night cruise and they're going to have 4 and 5-night cruises. So there's a bunch of stuff that like only happened, for example, once or twice on the ship that might happen multiple times on a regular sailing. So I can't answer those questions until we have that go on that maiden voyage cruise.
With that, let's dive in here a bit. And so the first thing I wanted to do as well was to highlight some truly special people that we got to share this ship with this week, and some big shout outs. We already shouted out the WDW Magazine folks, but I just want to give some special shout outs, and Sam may remember a few people that I miss here, but this is a photo of some just truly great creators that we got to meet throughout the week. So we've got Carly. Go ahead, Sam.
I was going to say, don't forget, we got the folks at Laughing Place who are not pictured here. They don't like to take pictures too much, but Benji, Doobie, and Jeremiah from Laughing Place, who we got to spend quite a bit of time with as well. But yeah, we've got Carly Wiesel, we've got Mingling with Macon, we've got Adam Bankhurst, we've got Lou Mangello, we've got Emily Carlson, Scott Carlson, and of course, Adventures by Carly. So we've got all these folks that we had kind of gotten to know first through, I'd say mostly like Instagram, but also their platforms. Some of them are writers, some of them are travel agents, some of them are podcasters themselves, or a combination thereof. And we got to meet all these folks on board, a couple of whom we had sort of met virtually before, but really a wonderful community of people that we got to know. And this is not an exhaustive list. There are plenty of others that we got to meet as well. So yeah, just a really fantastic community.
So, Sam, did you introduce everybody on this screen?
Yeah, everybody on that screen. I went over. Yes,
all right. Sorry, I was just checking my mic settings there. All right. So, thanks. Big shout out to these folks. Just one thing. So, Ashley saying, yes, I'm worried your all's experience was wonderfully extra and us. No, Ashley, I want to say like the experiences we had were close to what the guest experiences will be. But like when we walked into the Sanctum for the first time, they've got huge lights up lighting all the food and beverage so that we can get videos. They've got the bartender there ready to take a mic and walk us through all the drinks. So it wasn't go into the bar, sit down, order off the menu, and taste things. We had,
although we did some of that too.
Yeah, we had a curated experience, but by no means do I think that the people, the crew were acting like much more differently than you're going to see them on board. It's just that our experience was curated and scheduled. And so it's just a bit of a different guest experience. We also had fewer people on board, which makes it a little bit different. But I would not worry in the slightest that the experience we have is going to be so far removed from the guest experience that you need to worry about that. So, all right. So let's move to our next slide here.
Oh, and somebody's asking, are we going to have Lou on Monday, right, Brian?
Yes, Lou is confirmed for Monday evening. I cannot wait to talk to him. It's going to be great. The other thing I wanted to highlight is because of this experience, we got special access to spokespeople from Disney. So on this slide, you'll see a bunch of folks that have the Disney name tags on, who we had the opportunities to meet and interview about the experiences we're going to talk about. And what that gives us is kind of a unique understanding of what Disney was trying to do in some of these moments so that we can bring that to you. And then when we're back on the Maiden next week, we'll tell you how much it lives up to that experience. But you'll see here we had access to the chef here from isn't he in charge of all?
Alamode,
yeah.
He was the
Alamode.
One of the head pastry chefs, or maybe the head pastry chef on board.
Yep. One of the entertainment cast there, Paul from Pride Lands. We've got Corey and Matt from the Hercules show. Matt is the Broadway visiting star on board. Corey, of course, plays Hercules. And then access to Imagineers and creative directors and vice presidents of entertainment, like that kind of
Right.
stuff.
The
So
producer in the top middle picture, she's the producer or one of the producers for Hercules. In the bottom left-hand corner, he's one of the creative directors for Hercules. And then, of course, as Brian said, Corey in the middle bottom with me is Hercules. And then Matthew Patrick Quinn on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, that is Hades. He was actually Hades in Hadestown on Broadway, and now he is, or actually I think it's the national tour, but of Hadestown, and now he's Hades in Hercules. Of course, a different version of Hades, but he's fantastic. Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
yes, James
Lindsay
and Greg.
And Lindsay, to answer your question, where do we eat our other dinners? The first night, we're going to get into here in a second, we were off the ship for the christening. And so we did not eat on board. We had some lovely bites and cocktails and things at a party for the christening. And on the last night, we opted to go to Cask Cannon to try some of the pub food and just have a lower key evening and use some of our free drink tickets that they had given us from the cruise. So we did not eat in 1923 or Marvel on the sailing. I will say 1923, exact same menu, exact same experience. I will be checking out some of the tchotchkes in 1923, the decor of 1923 when we're on for the Maiden and the second cruise. Marvel, of course, is the night one menu that's available on the Treasure with the night two show that's also available on the Treasure. So we've seen that before and reviewed that before. So no big surprises, there.
Except the fact that they paired the night one menu with the night two show. I was hoping for the night two menu with the night two show. Oh,
yeah.
well.
All right, first thing I want to do before we even step foot on the ship is I want to talk about the christening. So we were invited to participate in the christening. You can see here, this was our view of the ship. They pulled the ship, they let us off the ship. So we had boarded the ship. They let us off the ship, pulled her away from the dock for the show that was broadcast live. Sam was down in the crowd. I was actually up on a high rise with some other media folks, kind of filming and watching the event. And like spectacular. I should say, just an overlay to this entire discussion, I'm still processing like everything that we got to experience on this cruise. So if we're a little discombobulated, it's because it's such a mind-blowing experience for us that we're still trying to like process it ourselves. But the drone show was unbelievable, and using the ship as a canvas for projection mapping, one of the first times that I've seen Disney ever do this. And it was amazing. I really encourage you to go off, find that YouTube video that they put out. It was unbelievable. There was a little party going on inside the port building. They had some characters out circulating, some food and beverage for everyone as we waited for the ship to pull away and get set up and for everything to be set up. Of course,
the ship was actually not in dock when this was happening, when the projection mapping and the drone show. So we were in the dock in the port building at the party, and a lot of people, actually more of the crowd was still on the ship, but about maybe a quarter of the crowd was allowed to come off the ship for the christening. And then they streamed the christening onto the ship. So this big party, there was lots of characters. So there's a great video that we put on our Instagram of me with Edna Mode, and I'm wearing a cape, and she had a reaction to it. It's a great video if you look on our Instagram.
Yeah. And so we had some speeches, Josh D'Amaro, I'm forgetting his first name now,
Joe Schott.
Joe Schott. Thank you. Joe Schott, the head of Disney Signature Experiences, Josh D'Amaro. We had Mickey and Minnie come. And of course, Susan Egan, the godmother of the Disney, godparent of the Disney Destiny. Amazing little show that happened there. And then, am I frozen for you too, Sam?
You are frozen.
The gremlins are really getting to me tonight.
They are. They are. So they did, there was there was singing, there was basically a singing troupe that did a show with a band. And then of course, both Joe and Josh introduced Susan as the godmother, and it was it was just a really kind of fun experience. Now, after the show finished, we were all sent back into the port building, and the party continued. And the theme of the party before we went out for the christening was heroes themed. And then when we got back in, it had transformed into villains theme. So the characters even changed between the beginning and sort of the first part of the party and the second part of the party. And it was at that part of the party that I got to interview Susan Egan, and it was a surreal experience because this crowd kind of formed around us as I was doing the interview, and Brian, of course, is filming and holding the recording device as well. So just a really fantastic surreal experience. We were one of, I think, two fan media outlets that got to interview Susan, and I will say the way some of these experiences that we got to have, there were other folks in fan media that got different experiences. So we didn't all get the exact same, although we did get a lot of overlap in what we got to do, and sort of a lot of the folks we got to speak to on board. So I thought this meant we were off the ship for like 3+ hours. So our first night on the ship, because the ship had to come back into port, we got back on. We actually didn't have that much time that we got to spend that first night on the ship until, of course, after the christening was completely over. So yeah, so we didn't have dinner on board. They did have dinner on board for the folks who were on board, but it was kind of a mishmash menu, I'll call it, where they had a kind of a sampler menu rather than the regular main dining menu, from what I understand.
And I want to do something a little bit different tonight. I'm just going to say that for folks who listen to this later, we're going to splice in here at this moment the interview that Sam did with Susan Egan. You can also check that out over on our Instagram. We posted that as a reel over there, but I will splice in the actual audio recording that we did with her, which is much higher quality here for folks listening after the fact. So right now that would be happening, and now we're going to move. Now we're going to
Yeah.
move on. We're back.
And your mic is better, Brian. Your mic is now right.
I'm just having all kinds of gremlins tonight. So here we go. But yes, this was such a unique and special experience. Big thank you to Disney Cruise Line for letting us have this moment with Susan. It was really surreal. But let's head on to the beautiful Disney Destiny. This is a photo of the Grand Hall. I'm going to use primarily some photos that Disney Cruise Line provided out to media because they're very high quality. You'll be able to tell when we're not using their photos. That's how good they are. But this is the Grand Hall, and I want to start here because, you think, oh, it's the Grand Hall. It's just like the Grand Hall and the Treasure. It is not. It is so much more immersive than what they did on the Treasure, and the way they accomplished that was through lighting effects throughout the Grand Hall. The chandelier you can kind of see peeking down up here. It is unlike any of the chandeliers that are on the other ships. It's like,
That's because it's made of vibranium, Brian.
it is. It kind of looks like kyber crystals, kind of all put
Yeah.
together. But the unique thing about the Grand Hall that we saw and experienced and then heard from Imagineering is that when characters walk into the Grand Hall, especially a lot of the villains walk into the Grand Hall, they automatically trigger certain lighting effects that have them take over the Grand Hall. So if Maleficent comes into the Grand Hall, all of the lighting turns her fabulous green flame color, and it's signaling to you that she is there and she is taking over. Loki has a similar experience. There's a Spider-Man show that happens in here, but the intent is that the Grand Hall is a very living thing, and as people enter and exit, the lighting will reflect that. As part of the Loki show that we got to experience, he would do things with his staff, and lighting would come down the staircase and then make its way over to the stage to symbolize kind of the power coming from his staff. It's a very immersive Grand Hall, and it's a very different kind of experience than what we saw in the Treasure. And by the way, the Treasure's Grand Hall is fantastic. You can see here the Black Panther statue. You can see a little bit better here the chandelier in the Grand Hall. It is a gorgeous Grand Hall, and it is really one of the Imagineers said all the spaces on board are like stages, and they are, and they're being used in that way, and the Grand Hall is being used in that way. So I don't know if you have any other thoughts about the Grand Hall.
Yeah, I have to say this. So this is the first time they've had a statue that is not that gold color. It is a black statue. So what we're seeing is T'Challa and the Panther, and it is a beautiful statue. So it's a beautiful atrium character or Grand Hall character. I would say I like the Treasure's Grand Hall better in terms of decor, but I think this one is really beautiful. It's just a lot more kind of simple, but I think what makes it unique and special is what Brian said, which is that all the lighting effects. I think that's really cool. There's actually like a lighting booth, kind of if you look up to the right on that balcony level, there's a lighting booth that you see and you walk right past it where Brian's circling right now with his so it's just very unique, and they're really using the stage quite a lot. I mean, the Treasure does as well, and I really appreciate how much they're using the atrium and how much they're using the stage in particular.
And Drew, I do want to comment on this, and you'll hear this throughout, but just a spoiler alert. One of the people in charge of creative was also in charge of creative over at the Star Cruiser. And so a lot of the experiences we're going to talk about, where I think when we came into this experience, we were sort of previewing, geez, that sounds like something they pulled from the Star Cruiser. They did. They drew some inspiration from the Star Cruiser. It is not the full Star Cruiser experience
Right.
by any
That's
means,
yes.
but they were pulling lessons learned from that experience to generate some of these things, including some of the entertainment on board. And so let's head over there to the entertainment. So we're going to talk for
Ah,
a bit about the special entertainment on board. This is Dr. Gamble, who's holding the blue
not
potion
doctor,
bottle.
just doc.
Doc Gamble, sorry, and then Zaya. They, of course, are the counterparts to Sage and Coriander aboard the Treasure, and they are the roving storytellers. And so they make their way into the Grand Hall. They make their way into DeVille's. We'll talk about that in a second. They do evening shows in Saga that are really, really great. These were two fabulous performers. Sam had a fun interaction that we put over on our Instagram where she was talking to them, and I don't know how my
They were
name came
looking
up.
for you.
You know,
They were
they were
looking
just
for
they're
you.
just shouting in the ground, Brian, Brian,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So they rove around the ship and try to engage you in the story of the Destiny, and then they do some special shows throughout. And I would say, as great as Sage and Coriander are, these two are equal to the task, and
Equal,
and
yes.
and just
They
fabulous.
they do a retelling of Sleeping Beauty where they involve, participants from the audience, and I gotta say that that show is not to be missed. I know we're gonna talk about the With Great Power Marvel show, so I won't say anything about that at this point, but they do a bunch of different stuff, and they're involved in the Cruella show at DeVille's. Okay, so we're at that slide. So this is from, the show With Great Power, so if anyone has seen, it's an adult-only, show. There it's not because it's like super raunchy or anything, but it's just an adult only show.
Just
This
don't,
takes place.
Sam. I'm gonna put a caution. Do not spoil the ending because
I'm not.
that
I'm not
was
going to
the
spoil.
surprise. Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil. I'm not going to spoil. I'm not. I'm going to keep this pretty spoiler free. So happens in Saga. This is going to be a very well attended event. It is the counter to the Indiana Jones show, but it's not exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it's going to give some storytelling about some different Avengers heroes. And so this is a heroes focused show, I would say. And you're going to hear not the entire story of the Marvel universe or anything like that, but you're going to hear some curated kind of specific stories about specific characters.
Yep.
And it is Zaya and Doc Gamble who do this show, not a real doctor, by the way. And they take on all the different characters, and of course, similar, if you can see on the right hand side, there's one of those kind of pad looking things with a projection thing that happens exactly like you do in the Indiana Jones show. That's how the show is put on here in Saga. This is called With Great Power, a Marvel something something. Anyway,
Yeah.
fantastic show.
Do
It was
not
only
do not miss this
Do not
show.
miss this show if you're an
hands
adult.
hands down, when we talk to people after the show, one of the single best adult entertainment experiences I've ever seen on Disney Cruise Line, and they really push the envelope with kind of the ending of it. And so just fantastic.
Hilarious.
Just fantastic. So
It's just the parts where I was like crying, laughing. That's how good it was. I'd say as good, if not better than the Indiana Jones. I think it just has a different audience. If you love Indiana Jones, you probably would like the Treasure one better. If you're a big Marvel fan, you'll probably like this one better.
so
Both, but really good.
I want to talk about a new term that they're using on board. We've got a slide of Dr. Facilier up, and you might notice that he's in kind of a decorated space here. So Disney has introduced this concept that they're calling meet and play or greet and play on board. the rationale behind this from interviewing some of the creatives, and I should say this week we're going to be putting out over the next week or so, we're going to be putting out all of the interviews that we did with the creative folks on board. We're going to do a deep dive on Pride Lands. We're going to deep dive on Hercules and some of the other interviews that we did. A deep dive on the spoiler alert engine room tour that I got to do. We'll talk about at the very end. But this greet and play experience is the way they described it is, look, heroes and characters are huggable. You want to come up and you want to wrap your arms around them and give them a big hug and have a little fun with them. Villains are not huggable. They're seductive. They draw you in. They are engaging. And so they wanted to find a way for you to have these moments with the villains on board to engage with them. And so they have this unique experience with Dr. Facilier. Actually have two meet and play kind of opportunities with Dr. Facilier. One is more of just a meet and greet kind of experience, but they're held in the Disney studio on board. So normally the photo session studio, you kind of line up for
Not to
them.
be confused with Shutters, by the way.
No.
It's actually a different space.
Yes, but if you do a private photo session, this is typically where they would do it. They set it up, and then what you do is you line up and they kind of bring you in a little small group for these things, and you meet Dr. Facilier and have kind of a moment with him. But because you're pulled out of the grand hall now, you're kind of in his space and his world, and he's going to draw you in and interact with you. The second experience that you can do with Dr. Facilier is you come to this studio and he brings in, I think it was groups of about 8 people. Sam got to experience this directly, and he does a little card trick with you there. And so
I'm not going to give you any more other than to
Yeah.
say it's a card trick, but because you're in this, it's called Dr. Facilier's Parlor. So if you just see Dr. Facilier on the schedule, that's just a meet and greet where you go and you get your you can take your picture with him. If you see Dr. Facilier's Parlor, that is this experience where you cannot have any phones out. There's no recording, there's no photography, but it is an interactive event and it involves a card trick. And that's all I'll say because I don't want to spoil it. But I'm just going to tell you all that I have a gift. That's all I will say.
Lindsay, let me answer your question here. How much will non-Marvel fans like With Great Power? It's funny, but it's really funny if you have an understanding of kind of the high level Marvel Cinematic Universe. You don't need to have a deep dive on everything, but you got to know who Captain America is. You got to know who Ant-Man is in order to really get it. But it is good, and if you have a surface level understanding of Marvel, it's pretty funny. Holly, I wanted to answer your question. Do you make reservations for this, or is it first come, first serve? All of this is it's like lining up for a regular character meet. You're just going to be kind of pulled into a separate space to do that. And it adds that air of kind of mystery and mystique around it. So
this thing, Dr. Facilier's Parlor and some of the other things we're going to talk about, people get there early, or at least they did on the preview. And I'm going to have an expectation that these are going to be rope droppable events. So like people are going to be rope dropping these 30 minutes before.
And Ashley, the characters, Dr. Facilier is not a Marvel character, so he's just a villain.
You don't have to know really much about him except that he's a voodoo guy. That's all you really have to know about him.
Yeah. So this is DeVille's, and we're going to talk about the bar space here in a minute. But what I want to highlight is they've now done this unique, again, greet and play experience with Cruella inside of her bar. And so I don't want to give away the whole story. Again, we're trying to keep this a little bit spoiler free, but when you see this on the schedule, you're going to want to go early because DeVille's is not a huge space. They do allow people to just kind of stand around because they want everyone who wants to experience it to try and experience. But Cruella comes into the bar and has a little, interaction with the crowd. She leaves. The crowd has to work on a problem together. I'll put it that way. And she comes back to see your solution to her problem. And so
it's called treble making.
Yes, treble making. And so it is a blast. It is an absolute blast. It is a great addition. It is like kind of an adult nighttime entertainment experience on board. And it's just great because you can listen to the piano music. You can have fun. This experience takes all of, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes in the bar, maybe maximum.
More like 30 minutes. But
30 minutes.
Yeah, Zaya and Doc Gamble are the hosts in for this experience, and this one is adult. So with Great Power and this treble making are adult only. The Dr. Facilier one is all ages, and the Maleficent one we're about to talk about is also all ages. So there are some things that are adult, and there are some things uh, that are all ages. This is Wretched Runway with Cruella. So this is actually a guest participating event where there's a runway show, and there's 3 groups of people walking the runway. One group is the heroes group, one group is the villains group, and one group is the Cruella group. So if you decide on the night that this is occurring, or the day that this is occurring, that you're going to dress up either as a hero, a villain, or as Cruella herself, you will get roped into participating in this event. This happens in the Grand Hall. I will say I didn't even know that this was happening, and I happened to stumble upon it. I was wearing a Marvel bomber jacket and carrying my superhero mini backpack, and was roped into participating in the hero group. And it was really fun. I won't give you a spoiler about what group wins, except it's pretty you'll predict who wins when you find out who the judge is.
We've got a comment here. Sounds like there are more special events than the treasure, but on a shorter cruise. And yes, they really, I mean, this is the way that they are differentiating this ship and this experience, is there is a lot more opportunity to interact, and especially with villains who are not really present in the way they are on the Destiny on the other ships. And so this was really them kind of taking the entertainment up to another level, and I think it was a hit. It was a hit in our book. Every one of these we did was just really impressive. They also have a Maleficent. You want to talk about the Maleficent group and play here?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of this one. I have it in my photos. So it is let's just call it something having to do with doing a spell. But basically, she's looking for Prince Philip and Princess Aurora. And so she pulls up different people on stage to assist her and ask them questions. And this happens in Saga, but this is an all ages event, or at least there might be 2 versions of it. There might be one that's all ages and one that is adult. This is an event that she brings people up on stage. I happen to be the last person to come up on stage. We have a video of it on our Instagram, and I got to do a spell with her at the end of the show. And there were 2 other people who got called up on stage before I did. This is a really fun event. It ends in a meet and greet where you can take a picture with Maleficent at the end of this event, as does, I think, the Loki event that we're going to talk about next here. So some of these events end in a sort of picture taking opportunity, but not all of them do. So there's a couple different events with Loki. One that happens at the beginning of the cruise with where the storytellers Aya and Gamble are telling the story of Loki, and then Loki comes in to correct it. And so he comes in and kind of takes over, and then it ends in a meet and greet. There's also another experience that happens in the Grand Hall that's called Celebration of a King. We did not get to attend this event. It's towards the end of the cruise, and that one is a T'Challa event. But from what I understand, Loki comes and interrupts that event and kind of takes over as well. And so there are lots of different opportunities to see Loki. There are several opportunities to see T'Challa. They do some picture taking opportunities as well. I will say I noticed on this cruise, and this might be unique to the preview, I noticed more villain experiences and opportunities for pictures, including Maleficent, Cruella, in addition to these events that we've been talking about. But there should be some more hero ones I'm expecting on the schedule. And so there were some of them that were that did happen. Like, this is another one. This is called I forget what it's called, hero training. But basically, Spider-Man is teaching you hero poses at the beginning, and then Electro comes, and the group has to together figure out a way to fight back Electro. And so this happens in the Grand Hall. This is also an all ages event. I would say this one is probably, of the ones I've talked about, probably the most kid-focused one, because it kind of ends in a dance party, and also meet and greet opportunity with Spider-Man. This happened to happen. It was kind of empty because this was our Castaway afternoon, and so the Grand Hall was almost completely empty. We did not get off the ship at Castaway because we just didn't have time. There was just so much to do and so much to see.
So I want to answer Tracy's question here. So many new characters. Did you notice less? No, they still had the Grand Hall was set up for magic shots in the evening, just like it is on the treasure. We got some great magic shots. We posted a few online, some new stuff, new backdrops that they had. So no, this is really not meant to replace. This is meant to amp up and augment the experience.
Yeah.
So I
There
think if anything, this was
yeah.
plussed up, not
I
down.
agree.
Yeah.
There are some magic shots that are the same as from the other ships, though. So, and there
Sure.
are some magic shots that are, and backdrops that are new. Like there's a Hercules backdrop that's new. There's some, there's a Loki backdrop and magic shot experience that's new. So yeah, there are some new ones and some that are repeatable from the other ships. Like Haunted Mansion is a good example.
And then this is a great question. By all ages, would you say 8+ or little kids welcome and enjoying the experience too? We actually talked about this after we got off the ship, and I do think that with the introduction of all the villains on board, I'd be interested to hear the experience of those with little kids once they get a chance to sail. I think if your kids are into heroes and villains, if they've watched a Marvel movie or something like that, like this is going to be a fabulous experience for them. But I'd love to hear if you're out there watching this or listening to this and you're sailing on the Destiny and you have little kids, we want to showcase some of those experiences because I'm really curious how this is going to work with little kids on board. I think it could work fantastic, but it's not the same as meeting Mickey and Minnie when you're meeting a villain for all the reasons that Disney outlined.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, and the villains are, as Brian referred to, as like sort of seductive and like the Dr. Facilier experience, the Dr. Facilier parlor. He comes off kind of creepy, so I'm like, it's open to all ages. I'm just not sure that very little kids would
But that could also
love
be
the
because
experience.
it was mostly adults on our cruise, and I'm sure that he can
Correct.
calibrate the experience to the age group in front of him. And so I don't want to come off as like, I don't think this is going to work. I'm just really curious to actually hear from people who got on board with little
Yeah.
kids to hear what their experience is like.
Oh, yeah,
Of
and
course, we have Hero Minnie, the
yes.
centerpiece of the Disney Destiny. Fabulous, fabulous character meet and greet. Sam loved it. Got tons of pictures with Hero Minnie. There's her Hero Minnie plushie that we got on board. So yeah, Hero
There's
Minnie is
Mickey.
a star of the show, and I put this picture in part for Hero Minnie, but in part to say the Fab Five is still there. Like they're still
Oh,
around
yeah.
the ship.
And there's tons of character stuff that happens in the kids club as well. So obviously we didn't have Nathan with us, and he's of course an aged kid now also. So less character stuff that would happen there. But when we were doing an open house of the kids club, Belle was there, Chewie and Ray were there, T'Challa was there. So there are definitely lots of like very kid friendly character experiences that are happening and activities that are happening in the Oceaneers Club. It is the same layout as what we see on the Treasure and the Wish, and the same design.
So we actually have slides coming up on
Oh,
that.
that's
So why don't
right.
we
That's
please
right. Okay.
let's get there when we
Sorry.
get there. So yeah. All right. I want to dive into some of the bar spaces. We're only going to talk about kind of the unique bar spaces on board. So we've got DeVille's, we've got the Sanctum, and we've got Cask and Cannon. We're not going to talk about the Rose, for example. So we're going to start with DeVille's, which is obviously the replacement for Nightingale's on the Wish and Scat Cat Lounge on the Treasure. You'll see the space is really themed out to Cruella de Vil, spotted piano, deep red carpets. The pillars here that you can see in the background behind the piano are meant to emulate the shape and design of the unique car that she drives. So the whole space just kind of evokes that villainous Cruella de Vil, her seductive nature again, kind of here. And they have a set of drinks meant to complement this experience. Now, we don't have photos of all the drinks, and we didn't get a chance to try all of the drinks. We will have to try some more when we're on the Maiden. A couple of things I want to highlight here. So in this photo, you'll see this drink that's like a smoking pipe, and you actually drink it out of the end of the pipe. You see the smoke, the dry ice effect coming out of it. On the right, you'll see this. It's actually a drink setup for two. There's a cocktail shaker there that's covered in spots. There's two villain style glasses. There's some popcorn that comes with the drink. There's another drink that we don't have a photo of that basically like comes in like almost like a martini glass, if I'm remembering correctly, but it's served on a tray. It comes with a champagne, like a perfume bottle filled with champagne for you to spritz on the drink. It comes with an edible lipstick, and it comes with edible glitter and like a powder puff case. And it's this whole experience. I will say overall, Disney really amped up what I would call the Instagrammability of the cocktails on
Mm-hmm.
board, especially in DeVille's and the Sanctum, which we'll talk about in a second. Now, we tried a few of the drinks. I would agree that a lot of them trend toward that sweet palate that Disney likes to do with some of its mixed drinks. But there were some options for some specialty rums and some other things that we'll talk about in a
Well, and
second.
this pipe one is actually a non-alcoholic drink.
Yes.
It's like an old fashioned, but it's a non-alcoholic version. And so a lot of people were, trying that. And yeah, there were we do have actually great video and pictures on our Instagram and more that will be coming of more of the items in DeVille's, but we just wanted to give you sort of a showcase of a couple of items. There is not an Uncrustable that we know of, by the way. Somebody just asked in the comments on in DeVille, but it's really, I think, a fabulously. And this is probably DeVille's favorite of the but Nightingales, Scat Cat, and DeVille's. I'd say DeVille's is the winner in my heart. I think it's really like perfectly themed. The drinks really fit with the theming super well, and it's a cool space, and they're utilizing it really well, not just for piano players, but also for that the treble making experience that we mentioned a little bit earlier.
All right, next we want to talk about the Sanctum. I was a little like nervous about how this would work because it is such like an open bar space on board, but it's fabulous. And I will tell you that the booth spaces inside, much like the ones on the Treasure in the Skipper theme, the Skipper Society, have all these little touches. The cloak, Doctor Strange's cloak, is hanging on the side of the wall near the bar. Everything kind of evokes that Sanctum feel. You can kind of see here in the background the books, kind of the floating books of like Camertage back there, and so it's really well themed. But I will say the place where the Sanctum really stands out, here's the bar space with kind of the Sanctum eye here in the background, the Oculus in the background. But where it really stands out are the drinks. The presentation of these drinks
It's incredible.
it's incredible. So like you can see here, there's like a tea-based drink there that's sitting in a circle, and they actually pour the pot through the circle. There's a non-alcoholic drink down there on the left that's in kind of a beaker glass almost. I think that I don't know if we have a picture of it, but there's a drink that I'm trying to remember the name of, but it has the Tesla coil kind of effect. They have a base that charges, and they set it on it. When you run your hands up and down, the lightning effect runs through the drink. They've got an Eye of Agamotto sipper there if you want the collectible. And then I wanted to highlight this other drink they have. So you'll see here on the left.
So the distortion effect is the one you were talking about.
You'll see here on the left, there's like kind of a drink sitting on what looks to be a big wooden coaster. If you watch our video over on Instagram, you'll see the bartender slide a pair of scissors underneath. So the drink is actually floating on top of that coaster. Now, they don't bring this to your table. It kind of sits at the bar, and it's meant to be kind of a place for them to like make a drink in a fun way. They don't serve it with the coaster because, obviously if the cruise ship's rocking around, the drink could fall off pretty easily. But it is really cool presentations of drinks. They have a trolley experience that they showed us where they use a nitrogen canister to like refresh the glass, and then they've got a whole drink built around it. And so there are lots of drinks. Of course, it's also a coffee bar, so they showcase some of the coffee and the filled waffles that they have. There is kind of I think that is I want to say it wasn't an Uncrustable, but I think that is a jelly-filled waffle.
It's a jelly-filled waffle and a custard-filled waffle they have. It's like I can't remember if it was blackberry or raspberry, but they have a berry-filled one and a custard-filled waffle that we got to, or Brian got to sample. Yeah. I'm not a filled waffle person, so I declined.
But the Sanctum was a great space too. It was packed every night. People were having a great time in there. Of course, they use it also for like trivia and drawing and things like that. And so it was a great space. I was really impressed by the space. And of course, we have to kind of round the bend here and talk about Cask Cannon, which is the Pirates of the Caribbean themed bar on board. It has just a lot of special touches. You can see in this photo up top, there is a map that is over the ceiling. It is based on original drawings of the maps from, I think it was the movies, the ride. I can't remember if it was the ride or the movies.
Yeah, it's from the ride. It's the scenes from the ride, I believe.
You'll see on the floor there a compass. That's meant to be Jack's compass. And of course, it's pointing to the thing he wants most, the bar and the liquor. And so that sits on the floor. The decor just evokes that Pirates of the Caribbean theme everywhere. And I would say this is the one place, this is the one bar where the drinks, I think, really trend toward that more like traditional, like a cocktail
Caribbean.
that's really forward. So lots of rums. On the left here, you'll see a treasure chest that's filled with
Dead
chocolate
Man's
coins.
Chest,
The
it's
Dead Man's
called.
Chest. It's a drink for 2 people. It's a rum-based drink with some lime. We did try that one. It was very sweet, but it
I
was
liked
delicious.
this one. I really liked that one.
Yeah, they have a
Yeah.
smoked rum drink here in the second photo that's sitting in kind of a barrel. They do a smoking of I think it's a special rum from the
Yes,
Bacardi
it's
family.
very,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the only place you can find the rum they use in that drink is either at the Bacardi distillery or on the Disney Destiny right now. And so it's a special rum from Bacardi that the family likes to have. On the right there, they're actually taking rum and aging it on the ship for about 4 or 5 days in a smoked barrel stave bottle there, and they serve that rum on the rocks or neat. And then on the far right, you'll see they have these bottles of rum that are meant to evoke the different cannons that were in use, in the days of piracy in the Caribbean. And so they've got all of these special rums throughout the bar, which makes total sense because pirates, they like rum. So
Yep. It's
yeah.
also really cool with the ingredients from these drinks and the theming of these drinks. They really tried to, like, go all around the Caribbean, right? So, like, there's one that's, like, very much like Puerto Rico rum, one that's very much like Dominican Republic rum, and so, like, they really, like, leaned into the Caribbean, drink menu, and I really liked the drinks here. I actually really like the theming. I would say this theming also, I think, is better than Keg and Compass on the Wish or Periscope Pub on the Treasure.
And
So,
and
yeah.
someone comments, so we have some videos up of all of this stuff, along with some interviews with the creative folks behind it, the bartenders who mix the drinks. You can check all of that out on our Instagram. And again, we will be releasing some of that audio. The audio with the bartenders we probably won't release because it won't resonate if you can't actually see the
You
thing.
can't
But if you
see
head
it,
over
yeah.
to our Instagram, you can watch the reels that we've done of the interviews with the folks who were there from food and beverage talking through this stuff. We did get someone commenting on it, like, well, you didn't showcase the food. The food is the pub grub, like what they have on the Treasure. So, like, I just want to be very upfront about that. So we did put some pictures here of the what is it called, potato barrels or
Yeah, the
something. Yeah,
loaded potato barrels, I think it's
yeah,
called,
potato
something like
puffs.
that.
They have a shrimp appetizer. Of course, they have a great burger. They have the chicken wings, which are fantastic. They've got a fish and chips, and then they've got kind of a fruit and cheese fruit, cheese, and meat kind of tray that they're serving. And so, pub grub, it does cost extra for those who don't know. Well, this is where we had dinner on the last night of the cruise, and we enjoyed our wings and potato puffs greatly. So the pub grub
Oh,
is
they also
still
have the
there.
giant
Oh, the
pretzel as
giant pretzel.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other unique experience on board is obviously the retheming of the sweet shop to Edna a la mode. And so we did get a chance to go in there. We did get a chance to interview the chef who has created all of these fabulous gelatos and cupcakes and all of that stuff. And I'll just throw up a picture here of some of the cupcake designs that they did. It is a beautiful space. Edna's there. Jack's there. They've got
Not like meet and greets, he just means like,
the
statuettes,
characters. Yeah,
it's
kind of like
called.
they have Nick Wilde and Officer Hops in the one on the Treasure. They've got really take the time on this ship to check out the decor, the artwork in the stairwells, the
Really
artwork in the
good.
spaces. There's lots of little touches. They've got of course, the Nom Nom cookie in Edna a la modes, and then on the wall they have a recipe card that is the actual recipe for the Num Num cookie. So just be sure to really check out these spaces. They're really, really fun. Otherwise, it's the
And
same
cookies
kind
are
of,
bigger than they are at California Adventure, just a heads
yeah,
up.
they're big, they're gigantic cookies, but this is a great space if you're into sweets. They've got all kinds of stuff in here the presentation looks gorgeous, and I'm sure it's even more delicious once you take a bite of it. So, all right. The part of the show you've probably all been waiting for. We'll get to Pride Lands right after this. But
Hercules!
Sam, talk about Hercules. We've got a photo up here of Matt as Hades. We've got Pain and
Pain
Panic on
and
the
Panic.
screen. Yeah, and I'm going to swap over here to Hercules fighting these massive puppets
Hydra.
on the
Yeah.
Hydra on stage. Talk folks through what you thought about Hercules, but don't spoil the whole show. The whole
Yeah.
show.
Well, by the way, this Hydra is, I think, like a seven-headed Hydra. I think you see five heads on stage at one time, but it's, I believe, a seven-headed Hydra. Or maybe it's a six-headed Hydra. Anyway, this is a fantastic show, you guys. Like, this is just such a wonderful iteration of Hercules. I gotta say Destiny cast number 1 is, like, incredible. Of course, like, the opening cast of every ship is probably, just of the highest caliber, highest quality they've had in a significant time to, of course, like, workshop and rehearse the show. But these voices, these dancers, some of the most talented people, any of them could be plucked and put onto a Broadway show and they would fit in. I loved this production. There was maybe one lull kind of in the middle. I would say Tale of Moana had maybe one lull in the middle as well. In fact, in Moana, it's actually a song that's a lull. In Hercules, there's sort of one scene, I would call it a lull. But other than that, this is a phenomenal show. I loved A Star Is Born. It's done with a very gospel feel, even more than the original movie. So there's more gospel and more R&B, I'd say, infused into this version of Hercules in such an amazing and wonderful way. And then I would also add that there's a song called Shooting Star that was originally written for the movie that got cut from the movie. It was supposed to be a Hercules solo song, and they reworked it into a duet between Hercules and Megra, and it's kind of them falling in love. And it is so good. And both Corey and Elaney, who are Hercules and Meg, are just phenomenal in this. And of course, Matthew is phenomenal as Hades. This cast is incredible. I don't want to spoil what they did with Pegasus. I'm not sure if you see Pegasus in some of the clips that were released by Disney. In I think I can't remember if it's Walt Disney Live Entertainment put out a clip, but it was surprising. There was a little bit of a surprise to us how they decided to do Pegasus. It completely works, but it took me a second because it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting something. I'll just say I was expecting something similar to Maximus in Tangled, and it's not at all. And
Yeah, and
so,
so Sam, just answer the question that people have, which is where does this
uh,
show rank for you amongst the shows? I will say to the comment in the chat about Moana, I do think this is better than Moana, especially there are I do not want to spoil it. There are effects in this show, both with costuming and the puppetry, that don't even approach what they did in Moana and are really stepping up the entertainment side of this. And I will say, when we interviewed the creative, again, we'll release that review. The producer will release that review here in about a week or so, or within the week. She did say they were trying to do some like modern takes on Hercules, and so there's definitely some of that in the show. But Sam, where does it rank for you?
I gotta say, I think this is now the number one show on Disney Cruise Line. I gotta say that I think the puppetry is better in Moana. I actually like Tafiti. Like, still, I think
Oh,
Tafiti.
I think there are things I don't like in this show, but you're 100% wrong. The puppetry in
No,
this is
I'm not saying
unreal.
I'm not saying I think the puppetry in this is unreal. I'm not saying that. I just think Tafiti was, like, just a revelation, and so I'm not sure that any of this beat Tafiti, although the Hydra is amazing. I think the Hydra are better than the, Titans. But I absolutely loved this show. These muses, Brian just put a picture of the muses, are phenomenal. They diversified the muses. You've got 2 male appearing muses and 3 female appearing muses, and this is just they are phenomenal. I mean, this is such a great show. All of the music hits so well. It's just millennials are going to love this show. I'm going to say that. I love this show, and I'm not a millennial, and I just think it's amazing.
We're going to give you a chance to give your full review after the maiden, Sam. So,
Okay.
we got to
I'm
move
gonna see
on.
this
Yeah.
multiple times. I'm gonna just tell you, I
Yeah.
would skip dinner for this. Maybe not Pride Lands, but I would skip dinner
Yeah.
any other dinner for that show.
All right. Of course, the unique dining space on board is Pride Land's Feast of the Lion King, and it is where the Frozen restaurant would be on the Wish, and where Coco would be on the Treasure. A couple of things to know. So the space is very similar. You walk down a long hallway, you enter the restaurant, and you're supposed to be transported into kind of the African savannah. The stage for this show is smaller than what they used for Coco. And so it's a little bit more compact stage, I think, to afford a bit more room for the seating. I will say, for those who think that the seating is, crowded on the Wish and the Treasure in these spaces, it's marginally improved, but I could tell the waiters were still struggling a bit to make it through the tables. The stage production is in 4 acts, and it tells the story of the Lion King. Although, as we I think said already online, do not expect to see Simba, Timon, or Pumbaa in the show. They did not do Olaf, like the Olaf like thing that they did for Frozen. This is really meant to be about storytellers telling the story, celebrating the music of the show. And so it is not, you're not going to see these characters kind of coming in to do the show. I wanted to see, give your thoughts on the show really fast, and then we're going to talk about the food.
Okay. So I would say it's storytelling through song. There's not a lot of dialogue, so if you're wanting storytelling through dialogue, that you're not gonna have a lot of that. They did take music, they said, from Lion King 1.5, and Lion King 2, which were both, straight to video, movies. So the song Shadowlands, for example, is in it. It's fantastic. I think this is amazing performers, amazing music. I loved the show. The one thing I would say is I kinda think it should be 3 parts instead of 4 parts. I kind of thought it was maybe done after the 3rd part, although there wasn't really a finale,
You and
and
many
then
others, because the restaurant started to
there
empty
were
out.
some people who had left. Yeah, so it was a little bit long and a little bit like, I think they need to cut it down a little bit. Everything is phenomenal. I just think it does, interrupt dinner, as all the shows in this, Arendelle and Coco. It makes it hard to even talk to your wait staff and for them to serve the food because the show is going on the whole time. And of course, you can talk, but it's quite loud, and that's been a complaint in all of the iterations of this restaurant. It's quite loud. It's going to be a very big sensory experience, so for sensory sensitive folks, it's probably not the best restaurant. But I loved it. I loved the show. I thought the performers were incredible. I just think that they could condense it a little bit more. And
Let's talk.
yes, Shadowlands is phenomenal, Drew.
So let's shift over and talk about the food for a second. I do want to say that in terms of menu experience here, for me, Tiana's has always been kind of a number one, because Disney Cruise Line was really pushing the boundary in terms of what they could bring on board in terms of like flavors and spice and that kind of thing. Pride Lands beats it. I still love Tiana's, but Pride Lands really beats it. I will say we've got to try a few more dishes before I land on my final assessment of the restaurant. So when we ate there, we tried some chicken skewers that were recommended to us for
Oh, so
fabulous,
good.
really good. We tried a vegetable tangine dish. I will say, just a quick side note for vegetarians, the vegetarian offerings in this restaurant look phenomenal. And we
Mhm.
tried a vegetable tangine that I really enjoyed. It was very flavorful. It was a mix of vegetables and a kind of not a curry sauce, but a red sauce with some green olives served over rice. It was delicious. We tried a shrimp dish that I
Shrimp
think
curry. Oh,
shrimp, a
so
shrimp
good.
curry.
That
They
was
have
my favorite dish.
yeah. Now I will say the two dishes that we had, there was a shrimp curry, and then we tried, what was the dish that
The
you ordered?
corvina, it was a white fish,
Yeah.
that was a fabulous dish. The fish, unfortunately, was overcooked, but the flavors and the sides and all of that were there. It just, of course, we had late dinner and, just with the show and all of that, food probably sits a little longer than it should. So that was my only hesitation. We heard that this Berber chicken, which was the picture we're showing, we've heard that was a knockout, and we heard that there's a lamb dish that was also a knockout. So we really got to try those dishes when we're on board for the maiden. But I would order that shrimp every day and twice on Sunday. The shrimp curry we had. We also had a peri peri shrimp appetizer, which was very very good, but it gave me like shrimp and grits feel, so it wasn't quite unique. I would say for this restaurant, but everything we had here was good. We tried a
Here's a
milk tart
here's
dessert.
a
Oh, there's the
here's
shrimp.
a picture of the shrimp. I will say, if you've ever ordered the Indian food in the main dining, these dishes kind of trended toward that kind of curry flavor of Indian food.
Mhm.
Very good. A little bit more heat in some of these dishes than I would have expected. I need to try the chicken because the chef said that the chicken is the fan favorite. It's a Berber spice chicken, which is, spice they use frequently in African cuisine. I also want to call out Pride Lands has 2 menus. If you're on a 4-night sailing, you will only have menu 1 because your other night will be a pirate night. If you're on a 5-night, 6-night, or 7-night sailing, it will depend on where you fall in the rotation, whether you get the second night menu. But there were some fabulous looking dishes out that they showcased. A falafel dish. There was a lamb shank dish I think is on the night 1 menu that people were raving about as well. But there are some dishes that you won't get on the night 1 menu that there were some standouts, at least at the showcase, that looked really, really good on the night 2 menu. So if you're on a longer sailing, you'll get the night 2 menu. There is no night 2 show. So there's only 1 show. It's just a different menu.
Yeah.
Um,
And to answer the question, it does give us like Sanaa flavors and feel from Animal Kingdom Lodge, very, very similar. And the decor, of course, is very similar to Animal Kingdom Lodge. Really, really
they
beautiful space.
they had this dish that they showcased to us. I think it was a black bean paste that was an appetizer that was served with toasted banana bread, and I was like, we couldn't try it. It was just on display, and I was like, that is blowing my mind, and I really want to try that. We won't get a chance
Uh,
to on our next 2 cruises because they're shorter, but next
we
year,
did get
hopefully.
We did get to try a drink there called Slimy Yet Satisfying, which is basically Jello with a gummy worm in it. It is, I'm gonna say that one's a do not recommend. It really is like Jello in a glass, so it's not really it's beautiful to look at, but it's not really great for drinking. So, but all the food we had was really fantastic.
Just going to quickly touch on the kids club spaces. Nathan was not with us, so expect a fuller review when we're back after the maiden and our second trip over Thanksgiving. But just to show you some of the art here, so this is obviously Wreck-It Ralph is the entry to the kids club. You'll see the slide there with Vanellope to come down into the kids club. Wanted to show off, this is the Star Wars themed
The launch
space
bay.
in the
Yeah.
Oceaneers Club, and then this is a photo of the Oceaneers lab side of the house. Of course, they also have the hideaway here, which is the
No,
edge.
this is not Hideaway. This is Edge.
Yeah, they
Hideaway is a
call it.
separate space. No,
Uh,
you're mixing it up. There's 3 spaces. There's Edge, Vibe, and Hideaway.
okay. This may be a photo of actually the hideaway because I think it was labeled that
Okay.
by Disney. And then this is the vibe on board. And so all the kids' clubs are there. They're set up in a very similar way as to what's on the Treasure and the Wish. They look fantastic, and we will know more about them when we sail with kids. So expect a more full review once we have that chance. We did not get a chance to fully tour all of these spaces, although Sam did go to the Oceaneers Club for everything
Yeah,
else.
I did tour the Oceaneers Club, and like I said, it is the same layout and theming as its counterparts, but lots of course, character experiences and lots of activities going on in there.
Here's a dabble of the merchandise available. You'll see us wearing these sweatshirts that are pictured here on the bottom left. Sam was showing off the gold water bottle that they have on board. Of course, there's Spirit jerseys. Sam, I think, owns that Loungefly backpack. Ears, like the standard kind of complement of merchandise. I do want to call out for those folks who are fans of Nike. They had no Nike merchandise on board, no hats, no shirts, nothing like that. We do expect a refresh of merchandise for the maiden voyage, meaning there will be some maiden specific merch. So this is just the the Destiny like first complement of merch, and then they have some inaugural sailings merchandise, polos, pullovers, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is an
So
inaugural sailings, hat,
yeah,
uh,
yep.
here.
But we did not get a chance to preview the maiden voyage merch. They do have some very unique pieces for the pirates themed bar, some bar tool sets,
Mhm.
just some new offerings there. I think we have a full video of the merchandise someplace that we'll probably try to post up on our Instagram again as a reel. But some really interesting merch, some fun merch. We didn't get a ton of it. Some of it was gifted to us. I just want to be perfectly honest. Some of it was gifted to us. These were not. We bought these shirts because we just thought they were fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's they've got a full complement of merch on board: pins,
Every
ornaments.
everything everything I just showed you on the video, other than the sweatshirts we're wearing, were actually gifted to us, by some, one thing was gifted to a couple of things were gifted to us before the sailing, and then the rest were gifted to us on the sailing. So, yeah, there's definitely a ton of new specific Destiny merch. The answer to your question, the answer is no. There are no maritime sailings on the Destiny this year. That doesn't mean that they won't have holiday decorations put up at some point, because we know from the treasure last year, they did in fact put holiday decorations up for the Maiden because it was over Christmas. But there were no holiday decorations up for our preview sailing. I would not expect any holiday decorations up for the Maiden Voyage because it's about a week before Thanksgiving. So, but I would expect that at some point in December, holiday decorations may go up on the Destiny, but no, they will not have official maritime sailings. If you're sailing over Christmas, though, I would say I would likely expect appearances from Santa and some, but not all, holiday experiences on the ship. So I would not expect a holiday deck party, but I would expect some holiday themed things. So just that's they won't do maritime sailings until next year.
Um, Linda, to your question in the chat, I do collect the atrium statues, and it does look massive. It
They
is
are all
T'Challa.
kind of big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it is T'Challa and the Panther, and so yeah, it does look massive. They also had,
I feel
instead
like
of
the
the
Aladdin one was really big on the carpet, don't you think?
kind of, I don't, I think this one is probably just slightly bigger. They do not have the oversized version of the. They have the oversized version of the ship, but it's all gold. And so it was kind of an interesting choice. And then, of course, they have the standard size ship model. I just want to talk real briefly here for a second. We're going to have an entire show dedicated. So I had the very unique opportunity to be invited on, I think it was about a dozen of the media who were invited to go take a tour of the engine room. The focus of the tour was really around Disney's sustainability efforts. And so we saw more than just the engines. We saw kind of the water filtration systems and recycling operations, and then a showcase of all of the ways that they've reduced single-use plastics on board. And so we will go into a deep dive on that. There's a whole fact sheet that I need to have in front of me to get all of the numbers right. But the engine room, it was unbelievable. The crew, or sorry, the PR people were like, we couldn't remember the last time that we've invited anyone to come behind the scenes like this, and especially into the engine room space. And so we'll be bringing that to you as a separate show. As I said, our tour guide was Johan. He is the chief engineer of the Disney Destiny. And it was a sight to behold, to see the inner workings of this ship. And so more to come there, but what a mind-blowing, unique experience to go behind the scenes with Disney on this one. So just
Yeah.
wanted to flag, it
And
was such a cool experience.
And this invite was for one of us, so that I was not on this. There was we got a private experience in DeVille's with that. I mentioned that treble making event, and only one of us got to go to that event because it was just for our media group. And so I went to that event. Brian went to this, which was one person from 12 different outlets. And so there were some things that we had to sort of divide and conquer because of just limited space, of course, in certain places. But it's super cool opportunity. I'm really glad Brian got to do it.
And I just want to wrap up by saying, like, look, these media preview cruises they are not vacations. They are a lot of work. We of course had our moments of fun and levity. And the
Like
last
with
night,
Minnie.
yeah, and the last night we spent a few hours kind of having some drinks with friends and some of the other creators and folks on board. But we did have, like, just the glimpse of the fun around the ship and these moments. It's an unbelievable ship. I think someone asked us earlier, does it beat the treasure in our book? I'm going to say, for me, it is definitely a ship that I will sail on. And we were already booked on her 4 more times. And so we're definitely going to be sailing on her again. And I am happy to be doing that. The only way that the treasure edges this ship out for me is the fact that she does 7-night sailings. And so, so I'm very much looking forward to our, 8 nights total on board, with stops only at the private islands, which is going to be amazing. I will say the one thing I love about the treasure is that she does 7-night sailings. The thing that will bring me back to this ship is, and I just cannot stress this enough, is that they somehow took the treasure and made it just not just slightly better, but like the entertainment offerings are just amped up, and
So good.
they're repeatable, they're fun, they're the humor
Interactive.
interactive, like the whole thing is just trying to take that immersion level to the next stage here. And I think, to Drew's point earlier in the chat about Star Cruiser, they're clearly, and as they said, they had someone on the creative team who worked on the Star Cruiser, like they're clearly trying to draw some lessons from that experience and bring them to C. Now they didn't fully do like, oh, go meet this character, and like I thought the Dr. Facilier thing was going to be like, oh, let me slide you a little note of a place to go meet, or he'd hand you his, oh, my mic fell, he'd hand you his business card, right? But that's not what they
It's
did.
not that.
It's
Yeah.
not
It's
that.
lining up in a queue. So
Yeah,
it's
so it is, but that will make me come back to this ship. I will be curious as we go here with this ship how much non-Marvel fans really like this experience or not. And so we'll be waiting to hear what, folks who aren't super into Marvel, if they sail on the ship, like what they think about it. But Sam, as we close out here, what are your final thoughts?
I mean, there are some experiences and spaces on the Treasure that I like more than the Destiny. I gotta be honest there. There's a few things I just really love about the Treasure. Skipper Society, I gotta say I still like Skipper Society better than the Sanctum. I, of course, like Beauty and the Beast more than Frozen, right? So there are some things that I like better on the Treasure, and I like the Grand Hall is a good example also. I like that better on the Treasure. But this is now my number one ship because there are so many amazing immersive entertainment experiences that I love. And I loved Hercules just so much. And I loved Pride Land so much. Like this now tops as my number one ship. So I can't say that the Treasure's far behind because there is so much to love on that ship. And I do think that that's the Parks lovers ship. So I think if you're a real like hardcore Parks person and not a Marvel fan, the Treasure is still going to be my recommendation for you. I'm not going to say don't try the Destiny, but I think that's going to still be your favorite. But if you like villains, if you're really into villains, or you're really into Marvel, or you're really into immersive experiences and you're willing to wait in 30-minute queues for them, because that's what it's going to take, I'll be honest. This is your ship. And so, yeah, I wish that this was doing 7-night sailings because there's so much to do packed into 4 and 5 nights. And I do think this is going to be one where if you're looking for a back-to-back opportunity, this is a great back-to-back opportunity and certainly a better back-to-back opportunity than the Wish. So, yeah, this is an amazing ship. And she's got my favorite mini on board. So, like, bar none. And I don't know if you're not in our Facebook group, then you didn't hear me tell this story, which is that as a young child, I was a huge Superman and Supergirl fan. And my favorite beloved Halloween costume is one my mom made for me when I was a child. It was a Supergirl costume because the stores only carried Superman and Wonder Woman costumes. And I would put on that costume. My cousin, who was an amazing pianist, would come over. He'd sit at our piano. We had an upright piano. He'd sit at our upright piano. He would play the Superman theme song. My dad would pick me up and fly me around the living room. And so to me, like I love Hero Mini because she gives me that Supergirl vibe and she makes me reminisce and relive that childhood memory. And so the fact that she's on this ship, there's a great video of me and her kind of being twinsies and twirling around, and I just love her so much. And I thought I couldn't love a mini more than Voyager Mini, but yeah, I mean, how could you not love Hero Mini? She's literally the best hero ever. So I don't care. Supergirl's got nothing on Hero Mini now.
All right. Well, we need to wrap up because we actually have to go get our son.
Oh yeah.
But I wanted to say just two last things. One is Drew in the chat saying, "I wish they hadn't recycled the Haunted Mansion bar." Preach. Like I think there was probably an opportunity missed there. To be
There are some
perfectly
new
honest,
drinks though.
there are some new drinks, but the theming was it's a little odd in my opinion, and I think I've talked about it on the show before. Um, and then Sarah is saying it seems like they could bring more immersive experiences to the other ships.
Mhm.
I think this could be a test bed for that. Don't get us wrong. Like you may see some of this stuff migrate into the other ships, but for
I hope
now,
so.
if you want those immersive experiences, the Destiny is the only game in town for it. So with
Yeah, there
that,
are some on the Treasure, but not at the same level. Yeah.
we will be back Monday night, 5:30 at our regular time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, with the incomparable Mr. Lou Mangello, to hopefully talk about his thoughts, not just about the Destiny, but also just about the cruise line in general. As a longtime pundit of Disney, we can't wait to talk to Lou, and he's just a fabulous person, so can't wait to have him on the show.
Yeah, he's with WDW News Radio, for those who don't know.
Yes, and so we'll have him on the show on Monday night. Please stay tuned. We've got several shows that we're going to push out with the recordings from this show, and of course, we will then be dark as we head into Thanksgiving week. We leave Wednesday for the maiden voyage of the Disney Destiny on the 20th, and then we are on the Thanksgiving cruise. We'll be headed to Epic Universe after that for a day. So we got a lot more great content coming and some fabulous shows coming out as well. But what a week we have had. And I just want to wrap up and say a big thank you to Disney Cruise Line and Disney Parks for inviting us on such a special opportunity. As I said throughout the cruise to Sam, if we never get invited to one of these again, I will never forget this experience, but it will also not stop me from putting out our show. So anyway, fabulous experience. Thank you, Disney Parks. Thank you, Disney Cruise Line. What a great ship you have built, and we cannot wait to experience her on the maiden voyage. And with that, we will say have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you real soon.
Happy sailing.